Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariam G. Makapudi, and I will discuss the models of curriculum evaluation. So at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to identify the 5 major models of curriculum evaluation. Number 2, describe the stages involved in each model and how these stages guide the evaluators. Number 3, compare and contrast the different approaches of this model. So the first model is the Provost discrepancy evaluation model. So it is developed by Malcolm Provost in 1971. So he developed this to evaluate the project under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act in United States. So ayon kay Ronald Dahl, 1997, tinawag itong discrepancy model dahil ikinukumpara yung performance doon sa standard. So kapag hindi naabot ng performance yung nakaset na standard, doon na lumalabas yung tinatawag na discrepancy. Provost identified 4 major stages of conducting curriculum evaluation. So number 1 is determining program standard. So kapag ini-evaluate ng evaluators yung curriculum, inaalam niya muna kung ano yung standard o yung layunin ng program na yon para malaman kung ano yung target nila. So, pangalawa, determining program performance. So, tinitingnan niya rin kung ano yung resulta o yung naging performance ng program na yon. Pagkatapos, comparing performance with standard. So, ikinukumpara niya yung naging performance doon sa standard para makita kung naabot ba nito yung target nila na standard. So, pangapat, determining whether a discrepancy exists between performance and standard. So, dito na tinitingnan ng evaluators kung may discrepancy o agwat ba yung performance doon sa standard. So, kapag nakita na may discrepancy o agwat ito, doon na dapat na may baguhin o i-improve sa curriculum. Halimbawa ko yung evaluators, i-evaluate ko yung intensive reading program. So, yung layunin o standard ng program na yun ay 80% ng kanilang mga students ay dapat nakapasa at the end of the SEM. So, katapos nga ng SEM, 65% lang ng kanilang mga students ang nakapasa. So, ikukumpara ko yung performance nila na 65% doon sa standard nila na 80%. So, nakita ko na napakalaki ng discrepancy o agwat ng kanilang performance doon sa nakaset nilang standard. So, maaaring dapat na may baguhin o improve sila sa kanilang curriculum dahil hindi naabot ng mga students yung nakaset nilang standard na 80%. So, number 2 is the Tyler model of curriculum evaluation. So, this model is a cyclical type of model dahil tuloy-tuloy yung pag-refine sa curriculum at hindi one-time process lang. So, Ralph Tyler, 1950, proposed 7 steps for evaluating e-curriculum. So, number 1 is establishment of goals and objectives. So, kapag ini-evaluate ng evaluators yung curriculum, tinitingnan niya kung malinaw ba yung goals at objectives ng curriculum para malaman kung malinaw ba yung target nila. Pangalawa, classification of the objectives. So, tinitingnan din ng evaluators kung paano nakaayos yung objectives ng curriculum para malaman kung naunawaan at makakatulong ba ito sa mga students na ma-achieve yung objectives ng curriculum. Pangatlo, definition of the objectives in behavioral terms. So, tinitingnan din ng evaluators kung ang objectives ay nakasulat sa behavioral terms para malaman kung may apply ba ng mga students yung kanilang natutunan sa real-life situation. So, number 4, identification of situation in which achievement of the objectives could be shown. So, tinitingnan din ng evaluators kung saang activity o sitwasyon makikita na na-achieve ng mga students yung objectives ng curriculum. Number 5, selection of criterion of measurement procedure. So, tinitingnan din ng evaluators kung angkop ba yung ginamit na criteria o rubrics sa pag-measure sa performance ng mga students. So, number 6, collection of data about pupil performance. So, dito na kinukolekta ng evaluators yung mga data mula sa performance o mula sa naging performance ng mga students. Pagkatapos, comparing of findings with the stated objective. So, ikukumpara na ng evaluators yung mga nakalap niyang data o yung mga naging performance ng students doon sa objectives ng curriculum para malaman kung naabot ba nito yung objectives. So, kapag nakitang hindi naabot o na-achieve yung objectives ng curriculum, doon na magsisimulang i-revise yung curriculum dahil hindi naabot yung objectives nito. So, ang pangatlong model ay yung kay Staffelbeam's CIPP model. So, it is chaired by Daniel L. Staffelbeam. His model is known as the CIPP or the Context, Input, Process, and Product. Number 1 is context evaluation. So, it is the most basic kind of evaluation. So, ito, tinitingnan ng evaluators kung ano yung mga problema, mga unmet needs ng school, ng students o ng society para matugunan ng curriculum. So, number 2, input evaluation. So, aims to provide information for determining how resources are utilized to achieve curriculum objectives. So dito naman, tinitingnan ng evaluators kung ano yung mga resources, mga strategies, at mga plano na ginamit para ma-achieve yung objectives ng curriculum. So number 3, process evaluation. Focuses on providing periodic feedback while the curriculum is being implemented. So dito naman, tinitingnan ng evaluators kung paano nagtuturo yung teachers, ano yung mga strategies na ginagamit niya, at kung engage ba yung mga students sa kanyang pagtuturo. Tinitingnan niya ito para makapagbigay siya agad ng feedback. Number 4, product evaluation. Aims to gather, interpret, and appraise curricular attainments, not just the end of an implementation of a curriculum. So dito naman tinitingnan ng evaluators ang lahat ng resulta ng curriculum. May progress ba ang mga students at kung naabot ba yung objectives ng curriculum. So, ang pang-apat na model ay yung K-Stakes, Congruency, Contingency, Evaluation Model. So, kapag sinabi natin congruency, ito ay tumutukoy sa kung gaano katugma yung na-achieve natin sa layunin natin. So, for example, sa isang reading program, ang target natin o yung layunin natin ay 80% mastery ng mga students. Pero ang naging resulta ay 78%. Ibig sabihin, medyo tugma yung na-achieve natin doon sa layunin natin na 80%. Pero hindi siya 100%. So, kapag sinabi naman natin contingency, tinitingnan dito kung ang pagbabago ng isang variable ay nakaka-apekto doon sa isa pang variable. Ayon kay Robert Stake, 1975, evaluation is not complete unless 3 categories of data are made available. So, these categories of data are number 1 is the antecedents. So, include data on students and teacher, the curriculum to be evaluated, and the community context. So dito tinitingnan ng evaluators ang background knowledge ng students, ang training at qualification ng teacher, at ang materials at resources ng paaralan para malaman kung handa ba ang mga student at ang paaralan sa ipapatupad na program. So, pangalawa ay transaction. So, include time allotment, sequence of steps, social climate, and communication flow. So, dito naman tinitingnan ng evaluators kung paano nagtuturo ang teacher, paano nagre-respond ang mga students, at kung paano ginagamit yung mga resources at materials. Ito ay para makita kung ang implementation ng curriculum ay maayos o baka may problema. So, pangatlo ay outcomes. Encompasses students' learning in form of understandings, skills, and values or attitude, as well as the effective of the curriculum on the teacher, students, and the school. So, dito naman tinitingnan ng evaluators kung ano ang epekto ng curriculum sa students. So, kung paano yung learning growth, skills, attitude, participation, at overall achievement ng students. Dito malalaman kung effective ba ang implementation ng curriculum. So, the last model is Isner's Educational Connoisseurship Model. So, this model was developed by Elliot Isner on 1985. It provides a qualitative way of evaluating a curriculum. So, meaning, yung paraan ng pag-evaluate ng evaluators sa curriculum ay qualitative. So, hindi siya nakafocus sa mga scores, test, at sa mga numbers, kundi sa mismong quality ng teaching, ng learning, at ng classroom environment. Isner's model calls for a deeper and wider observation results of evaluation that are expressed in written form. So, yung model ni Isner ay mas nakafocus sa pag-unawa sa kung paano natututo ang mga students at hindi sa kung gaano karami ang kanilang naisagot at naipasang mga activity. So, yung result ay nakasulat siya ng written form at hindi naka-table at naka-numerical rating. This model tries to capture every aspect of curriculum activities including the hidden curriculum. So, kasama rin sa modelong ito ang mga hidden curriculum tulad ng values, attitude, classroom behavior, at iba pa. The emphasis of this model is always on the quality rather than on the measurable quantity of learning and interaction. So, binigyan din ni Isner na ang kanyang modelo ay palaging nasa quality at hindi sa quantity. Ibig sabihin, hindi mahalaga kung gaano karami ang natapos na lesson at kung gaano karami ang naisagot ng mga students. Dahil mas mahalaga sa kanya ang quality ng teaching, ng learning at ng classroom environment. At yun lamang po at maraming salamat.